Manchester City have pulled out of the race for Declan Rice. The England midfielder has picked Arsenal. His preference is clear. I only want to join Mikel Arteta and Arsenal. West Ham briefed the media and stated they were waiting for the response to Arsenal's £105 million bid. They were hoping for the response to help them in their negotiation with terms. But Man City, after hearing that Declan Rice only wants Arsenal as of right now, have pulled out of the race. The deal to Arsenal is imminent. Hit the like button, subscribe to the Football Terrace, turn on that bell notification button as well so you don't miss any of our streams. Let's go. David Ornstein dropped the bomb last night. £100 million guaranteed, £5 million in add-ons to bring Declan Rice from East London, West Ham, to the Arsenal. The big feeling was, the brief that West Ham gave is that City will respond. City will respond. They will match the bid. City are desperate for this guy. But in the end, they have walked away. And why do teams walk away from these deals? They may say, we don't think he's worth £105 million. They may believe that to be true. I don't personally. Just like when Man United walked away from Darwin Núñez, when Man United walked away from Gakpo, just when Chelsea walked away from Onana this window, it's nearly always because they know they're not going to get the player. The player's preference is Arsenal. City are walking away to save face, and fair play to them. It's what all clubs and all teams do. There's absolutely no harm and no foul in that. But he looks like now, imminent, it feels, that he will become an Arsenal player. That is what he feels. Now, look, City will say it's because we didn't feel value in them. I know what City are going to say. No value in the market. We've got other priorities. We didn't want to eat too much into our budget. There might be an FFP claim that comes in. It'll be one of those things. But in the cold, hard light of day, Declan Rice wants Arsenal. And even though that Man United were loosely linked to this deal, you saw my reaction live on camera. I didn't really want us involved because I don't believe he picks us over Arsenal. And I didn't want the egg on my face. But Arsenal closing in on their man indeed. And I'm just going to say this as well. A lot of people were on the neck of Arteta. A lot of people were on the neck of... why am I forgetting the man's name right now? We're on the neck of Edu for a long, long time over this deal. But I do feel like today they have come out and they have really sort of shut people down. I think they've really answered their critics in a big, big way. So I'd love to get Arsenal fans' sort of views and opinions and understandings surrounding this deal now. I'd love to know what they think and what they feel. I'd love to know their reaction to it. Get that into the comment sections right about now. But Man City reportedly pull out of this deal. Close, very close indeed to becoming an Arsenal player now. This here says, Edu just waiting for Eid. Have got to have Rice is what Ibi has got to say to us here today. Champions League is ours. Man like Zane back on the football chair. It's good to have you back, Zane. You were back last night. It's great to have you here back on the, excuse me, football terrace with us. But yeah, look, it is phenomenal business. I don't think there's any doubt about that whatsoever. Need to structure the deal over 3 years, get it over the line, will transform our team dramatically. Havertz, Rice, Timber, Arsenal won the window opinion. Right now, you're winning it without a shadow of a doubt. I'm not going to say you've won the window until the window shuts. We don't know what other business teams out there do. But Arsenal are definitely in a very, very commanding position indeed. There is no doubt about that whatsoever in terms of winning the transfer window. But what you then need to do is you need to turn that into trophies. Spurs won the window last year, remember. You don't want to be Spurs. City fans celebrating this news on Twitter. Listen, that's just what I call copium. Just copium, them celebrating that. I had so many City fans come on this show last Thursday after DiMarzio's dagger and say, we're getting him. He's our guy. We've done Arsenal again. We beat them to the title. We're beating them to their main target. So for City fans to sit online now and celebrate, I'm calling Billy BS. I'm calling Billy bullshit. If I'm being honest with you, I'm calling it. The one thing I would say for City is they're not in a desperate need for him. So their team is still going to be world class, still going to be favourites to win the league. But to celebrate not getting him, no, that's lies for me. This is what happened when we act like a big club. You are acting like a big club for the first time in 20 years. The contract renewals, the salaries you're paying people, the disregard for net spend. Listen, as a Man United fan, I'm annoyed to see it because when Arsenal were focusing on having good net spend in the lowest wage bill in the top six, you were never going to be competitive. You were never going to win. You're now behaving like peak Man United, peak City, peak Chelsea, peak Barca, peak Real Madrid, peak Bayern Munich. That's what you're behaving like. If you want to be the best, you've got to behave like the best. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. But has to be the biggest overpay in history. No, not in my opinion. How can it be? Define that. Now, you can't equate 100 million transfer now to a transfer 10 years ago. Yes, Cristiano Ronaldo cost 90 million in 2009. But football has grown financially at an exponential rate since then. Just look at the difference in TV deal money from 2009 until now. Billions more money being pumped into this game each year. If the clubs are earning more money, a lot of their turnovers have doubled in that time. Then transfers double. So in the modern day era, 2023, £100 million for Declan Rice is a fantastic piece of business. Fantastic piece of business. The only time these deals look wrong is when your club's been mismanaged for a number of years and you've got holes everywhere. You've got massive holes here, massive holes there, and you have to fix loads of problems. And you drop £100 million on one player, meaning you can't fix all your issues. But when you build a squad like Arsenal have now got, you can theoretically now Arsenal, this is what they should be doing forever and a day. Every transfer window now, it's one or two players coming in for 80 to 120 million pound a piece. You know what we need? We're going to go buy one of the best right backs in the world. Sometimes you're going to pick up cheaper deals as well. I'm not saying they're all going to be big, but you only need to. All Arsenal now need to do if they're smart and keep spending is every year you just add a player or two of high quality, and then you just maintain these levels. That is the mold that City are in. Arsenal are only just behind it. Liverpool lost their chance to do that, and they went on the cheap. And remember, I haven't used this expression for years on the terrace, but cheap is expensive. You put cheap tires on your car, you'll go through more in the long run. You buy cheap hair products, you go bald. So anything, you buy cheap clothes. Literally, there's certain clothing brands, a nice little two-piece. You wash it 3 times, it's shrunk, it's out of shape, it goes bobbly. Cheap is expensive. Tomorrow, City advanced talks to sign Kimmich. Yeah, they could. They legitimately could do that. Old Terry, what a day to be a Gooner. Outs, midfield, and team needs some rice. Now let's get Timber to cook the rice. Arsenal moving mad. Laka, Arsenal were doing absolute bits. For me, the contracts of Saliba, Saka, and Gabby plus Rice was all I wanted this summer, especially those contracts. Crucial. Anything else is a bonus. I think you guys can aim even higher now, to be fair. Buzzing for this. Big club has to make big moves. He will fit like a glove, and our midfield will be solid. Send a member chat as well, almost 24 months. Thank you very much for being a member. I really do appreciate that. They don't show up on StreamYard, unfortunately, so I don't see them. And I've fed that back into them about 4 or 5 times to make that work on there as well. Now we wait for the hate from every club. Listen, Gooners, I said this last night. I'll say it again. Genuinely mean this and believe it. You're always going to get hate. If you act like a big club and spend, you'll be teased for spending. It'll be, oh my God, you spent $500 million. You've only got 1 FA Cup at the moment. You're going to get bantered. If you don't spend, you're going to get bantered. You get bantered every direction. You just got to learn to, even though most of it is dead, most of it comes from members of the NVC. The NVC are everywhere. They think they run socials, the NVC. They don't. But just learn to take it on the chin, mate. Seen the news, immediately looking for your stream. That's because you're a legend, Dean Pearson. And you, my friend, are not part of the NVC. Anyone who speaks and feels like that is not a member of the NVC. Odegaard, Rice, Saliba, Saka, Martinelli, Jesus, and more peak together. Scary. I want a competitive league. Man United need to respond. Yeah, we do. We do. And look, we will. I actually recorded a different video, but I couldn't release it because I spoke in that about Man City's next bid, and West Ham had briefed the media saying they were going to bid. And I spoke in that about Onana. That'll be re-released later now, or I'll talk about it on the show with Big Steve. The Big Steve on today, by the way, Arsenal fans. Make sure you're back at 3:30. The big blue shark just drowned. But I think United will respond. That's what, Arsenal started this window so well. So well. But there will be a response. There's no doubt in my mind. Funny how Rivers bantered us for being cheap this whole saga. Now they banter us for overpaying. Think they might be rattled. Bro, I'm a Man United fan. I see people rattled honestly, it's like I'm in the desert in Nevada. I hear rattlesnakes everywhere, bruv. Everywhere I go. Man United gets screwed over in transfers because everybody adds Man United tax. We then pay the Man United tax. They go, oh my God, look how much money you're spending. You're a banter club. So what do we do then? Not buy anyone? If we don't buy anybody, they say we're cheap and broke and we don't care. Remember, like, rivals will banter you at every direction you go in. I think for Arsenal fans, like the young ones, this is what you're learning. Most of your life, you've been bang average. So you've been bantered for being poor. What you have not experienced in your life yet is being good and still being bantered. So your brain goes, what's going on? I thought we'd get praised. Never. You'll never really get praised. The only clubs that get praised by neutrals are clubs we don't care about. Other than me, I've got a job to be neutral. That's like my job as hosting the Terrace with my partners. They're literally like, look, we don't want you being a salty rival. That's the one agreement in the deal that we did all those years ago now. So, and I've stood by it because I'm a professional. Nothing personal. Something Rice, Arsenal versus Chelsea on BT Sports Part 2. Listen, it's going to be, nothing personal. Well, yeah, I mean, he did play for you guys in the academy. Look, I'm going to bring Jessica Black and KJ onto the show now to have their say as well. Please hit the like and the share button. Make sure you are subscribing. With the big breaking news, if you're just tuning in, Man City pull out of the race. Declan Rice to Arsenal, imminent, as they're the only one in the race. They've hit the marker, and I wonder what this does to the structure negotiations now. Let's bring on Jess and KJ. Let's go. Welcome back to the show, guys. Jess, first of all, your reaction to this news.
You saw my reaction. Like, I was just waiting on them to pull out of the deal. Like, that was it. Because once that happened, now I felt like we could just kind of move on and get the deal done. So I'm ecstatic. I think that this deal, for many different reasons, is so important for Arsenal, smashing the English record, smashing our own record as well, potential England captain, like all those things matter. And I think that's why Arsenal really wanted Declan Rice to really give like a statement, but he's also a quality player. And I know that the narrative over the next couple of days will change. He'll go from a player that's perfect for City and should be sitting next to Rodri and winning trophies to a bang average footballer that wanted to go to Arsenal and won't win anything. But to be honest, I don't really care. Like, we know the truth. This guy is good. He wants to come to Arsenal. He made his stance clear, and that's why we are where we are now. So, yeah, I am ecstatic. Like, I'm super excited. So, yeah, obviously puts pressure on Arsenal. Like, I think yesterday when the bid first went in, the first question from rivals is, does this win you the league? Don't you feel like you should win the league? Don't you feel like you should win the Champions League? And so when you start buying players like this, the expectations become so much greater. But for me, I'm ready for that pressure to be on because I think Arsenal are in a good position to push forward for bigger trophies.
Yeah, I hear that 100%. Like, KJ, from your point of view, we spoke about it last night. City have pulled out. Not a lot of people expected it. I'm sure there's going to be a spin of value in the market and not worth it. But what do you put this down to? Is it just the player has picked Arsenal?
I think, yeah. I mentioned it yesterday that Man City would pull out because what's the point of spending 105 to 110 million on a player who's more likely to reject you than accept you? Man City are notorious for pulling out when they feel like their valuation has been exceeded and they're just not going to do it. So yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I think the main thing is Arsenal being the favored place for Declan Rice, and then the second part is Man City are in a position where they don't actually need to spend 100 billion plus on a midfielder. They're signing Kovacic, the treble champions. So they're in a strong position within themselves. Now, obviously, Man City fans will say the same thing out of copium. But the main thing is like Declan Rice wanted Arsenal. Everyone knew for a long time that Arsenal was the place. And hey, you can be treble champions. Doesn't mean every single player will want you. But Arsenal, fair play, man. Fair play. You put the money down. You put the money where your mouth is. You came back with a vengeance and made sure you offered something that Man City wouldn't even touch. Like, it would have been easy to be like, okay, here's 80 plus 10, or here's 85 plus 10, or 90 plus 5. It would have been easy to do that, make it long, drag it out, and hopefully get the bid accepted. But man, Arsenal said no. 105. What now? And no one can chat to them in this deal. No one can say anything to them. People saying, they've overpaid. It is what it is. Like, this is what it takes to get the player out of the club. One thing that is funny though, someone did tweet and someone's been discussing in the group chat. How many signings have gone well that Man City have pulled away from? You know, your Freds, your Alexis, your Jorginhos, all these players coming in, Maguire. So that would say, I don't think this will be the same case. I think Arsenal and Declan Rice will be a match made in heaven. I think they'll do really well, really, really well together. As a rival, I hope it crashes and burns. You know, I hope it's a 100 million pound flop. You know what I mean? 007, whatever you want to call him. I hope that's the case. But in terms of just pure football, well done to Arsenal, fair play, and I don't see them stopping anytime soon.
Mate, I hear that. Do you know what I would say is a little different maybe about those other deals? Is the vast majority of them. So when you think of Fred and when you think of Alexis Sanchez as standout examples, the Man United manager at the time didn't want those players. Man United decided to go and hijack them. The manager said, that doesn't really fit my system. He's not the profile of player that I want. The difference in this is that Arsenal were the ones leading this race. It was almost City that tried to hijack rather than the other way around. So listen, I'm the same as you. I hope this doesn't work for Arsenal as a Man United fan, but do you know what? I've said it many times before. Me and Lee Gunner have had this argument. Arteta's success rate when it comes to these big signings is huge. In terms of looking at next season, Jess, now that you've done, you're going to do 100 million on him, 65 on Kai Havertz. You know, it's 200 million essentially on Kai Havertz, Mace, Rice, and Timber, coupled with the squad you've already got. The expectations have now risen for Arsenal massively, surely.
I think they rose the minute that we finished second, or even when we got in the title race, to be honest. Like, I think the top four discussion became, a lot more advanced in terms of like title race and should Arsenal be winning these big trophies and all this kind of stuff. So I think the expectation actually grew from the season. And now we need to match that expectation with the type of transfer window that we're trying to do. And it looks like that's what Arsenal are attempting to do, is match that expectation with the transfers. And so, yeah, I think as Arsenal fans, we need to, there's always balance in the conversations, right? It's like, obviously, we want to win big trophies and we should be expecting those, but also remember that like we are taking steps towards that. And like, we can't expect to be the Invincibles tomorrow, so yeah, but my expectations for next season were kind of, already written out before the season ended. I think we should be in another title race. And like, when I mean in a title race, like we need to be very close to winning it if we don't win it within a point, within 2 points. At least the quarterfinals in the Champions League. I'd love to go further. And we need to win silverware. I don't really care what kind of silverware it is. We just need to win something. And so, yeah, I think and I think that's another reason why people were like, some Arsenal fans were almost not desperate, but wanting us to to leave the race last night when we put in that bid and it wasn't immediately accepted was because the reality of buying players like Declan Rice is that the expectations become a lot more. And you get comfortable in the bubble of, like, I think Terry already said it, we didn't spend that much. So the expectation should be that, you know, top 4, it's fine. And so we are definitely leaving those conversations. And so Arsenal fans also need to update their expectations on the season. Like, there's going to be very high expectations of Arsenal next season. Very. And it's not just the players, it's the manager, because Arteta also pushed for both Rice and Havertz. So if they don't work, that's on him, you know, so somebody has to, you know, to take that responsibility if it doesn't work. So yeah, I'm ready for the pressure, but the expectation has got to be winning trophies for sure next season. 100% above anything else.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It simply has to be. We've got some super chats we're going to go to here. Storm is coming, is what Marco says. Today I feel Guattari. I like that. Hoping for positive breaking news from you, Terry. I mean, this is pretty positive. Remember, it's not my news. This comes from a number of other journalists, the Daily Mail, the Manchester Evening News. And I will say this as well, by the way. I know the Ornsteins and the Fabrizios. I respect both of them. But I know a lot of you are like, oh, I've got to wait for them to say it so I believe it. Remember, it was not them that broke this news. It's not always the big names that break news. Don't just go, don't retweet. When they say it, don't retweet it. Go to the originator and retweet their stuff and support that journalist, please, because I think that's a fair thing to do. This is huge for so many reasons, is what Daniel Bliss says. Yeah, I think there's so many here. And I know that City are going to be protected with they didn't get rejected. They walked away. You've all seen me say it, but this is why, by the way, I don't mind taking it on. I say about my own club, when we walk away, we didn't walk away. Chelsea haven't walked away from Onana. It's because he wants Man United. We're not dumb. We know this. You know what I'm saying? Eid Mubarak to all of the Terrace. Love the show. Thank you, my friend. And yeah, anyone who's celebrating Eid today, have a wonderful and a blissed day. And I'm sure if you're an Arsenal fan today and you're celebrating Eid, it's a little bit of, obviously Eid far more important, but it's a little bit a double bubble for you. In terms of next season, KJ, what do you think they need to achieve minimum, Arsenal, for it to be looked as a successful season?
Minimum FA Cup or Carabao Cup, like in the bag, guaranteed. Title challenge within 3 points this year, and taking it all. No capitulation. None of this collapsing with a few games to go. They need to go all the way to at least two games away from winning the league. That's what they need to do. And to the Champions League, I'm going to be fair to them in the Champions League because I haven't been there in a while. The European experience is definitely a factor. We've seen it over the years. So quarterfinals, if they can't get to the quarterfinals with this team, that is a worry. That is a worry. So one trophy out of the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, a really, really good close title challenge, and then the quarterfinals of the Champions League. I think is a fair expectation for Arsenal. And if the one thing I'm worried about for Arsenal is the fan base. I can see a lot of the Arsenal fan base very easily crumbling to the pressure, and if anyone says anything to them, it's no, we're still in this building phase. Like they'll find ways to make it up that the fact that they're not in where they're supposed to be, you know, and those excuses can come out. Hopefully that don't happen. I want Arsenal fans to go in with chest, with belief in their team, because their last 3 years, last 2 years, has shown major progression. So if they're finding ways to find excuses after dropping Rice, after dropping all these different players, Havertz, Timber, and potentially some more, I'll be disappointed. I really will, because you know, you guys are now considered one of the best teams in Europe, apparently. So
no, I think most Gooners will agree with you on that. But Jess, what do you take? Like they can't. I mean, I've just done the maths on it after this summer window, and you're likely to spend more than 200 million, because I don't see you stopping at just Havertz.
No.
So if you say you do stop at 200 million, that takes Arteta's spend to just under 700 million. There can be no more rebuild excuses next year. It's got to be start winning now, Arteta.
Yeah, of course. And I don't think like the thing about it is like that's exactly what Arteta has said. You know, he's never shied away from it and been like, well, we're in like this process, so don't expect anything. So I think him pushing for these players and what he said echoes what all of us or most of us kind of feel is like it's time to get going. You know, we're not really in a rebuild anymore. The team is built. Obviously, you're gonna fine tune things, but we I remember you were talking to like Hussam about this. A lot of us have talked about this. That Arsenal's like the last step was to get your Van Dijk / Allison signings. You know, I know that that's like, you know, it's kind of that's their thing, and they needed a goalkeeper and a center back, but Rice is that for us. And people want to talk about, you know, a player that, you know, Pep wanted and they stepped away from. How good do they do? Virgil van Dijk was one of those. Man City wanted Virgil van Dijk and he ended up going to Liverpool and he did a really good job. So I think we're in the end game here in terms of the project. It's built. Obviously, it needs to get better. It needs fine tuning. But yeah, no longer in a project. You know, it's time to go. Something else that's kind of interesting though is that like, you know, Terry and I were talking about this is that the domino effect that this is going to create. You know, Fabrizio Romano just said something about Caicedo. We spoke about that. Like literally, Brighton were just waiting around to see what was going to happen with the Rice deal. And then now that that's done, now they're going to start talking to Chelsea for Caicedo. So all those little dominoes are going to start
No, I
falling
think it's the
over,
other way
which is
around, Jess.
huh?
I think it's Chelsea they've got stressed now. The Rice is gone. Like
No?
Man United are lurking around Caicedo because they're playing hardball with Mount. They've got to do something. Man United need to find a solution for Mount. Now I'm not trying to say Mount's on the level of Declan Rice, but for Man United, he's going to be needed. All these teams. You know what's funny as well? All of this is going on. Spurs has basically signed James Madison, and
No
no
one
one
cares.
cares. No one cares. You know what
I
I mean?
said that this
No,
morning. I was like,
no
no one
one
cares.
cares.
I'm going to say as well. Maybe Eni Aluka had a point yesterday.
Oh, wait, listen. I was about to say that as well.
Maybe Eni
So
Aluka
we
did,
need
you
to.
know.
We might need to give her an apology still.
felt
because,
like-
hey, am I a sporting
Obviously-
director?
I
am
have takes on that. I have feelings on the whole Eni Aluko thing. I
You know
know
what?
it sounded wild at the time. I know it did.
No,
She said as a sporting director,
Yeah.
she did not just make that up. She's
No,
been
she didn't,
around
she
the
didn't.
block.
Yeah,
She knows what she's saying.
Me and Lee obviously laughed at it a little bit yesterday. And what I said is I'd have liked to have asked her a few more questions because I don't think it would happen exactly as sort of clean cut and linear as she put it. But I almost feel like you can definitely feed stories into the media. I think there's an element of truth to it. I don't know if Arteta quite phoned Pep and said, bro, please do get your sporting director to do this for us to help us. But there's elements of it that probably true. Yeah.
But clubs know more than we do. They know
True.
more about what their like opposition, what their feelings are on the player, how far they're willing to go. And the way that Arsenal were consistently confident on the Rice deal, the way that they came in very low on the Rice deal made me think that they knew more about Man City's true interest in Rice than the media made it out to seem. They made one bid that was already revealed the initial time that DiMarzio talked about it, and that was it. And so maybe Arsenal just kind of always knew that they were never going to really go that far, but until that first bid went in, nothing was going to start going and moving. So I think she had a point. Like you said, it probably wasn't exactly like that, but the way people were acting like she was just like came from out of space, I was like, come on, like she's done this before.
You know what it is? She didn't come out of nowhere with it. Like obviously she was a sporting director, and maybe in her leagues, that's what they do. Like it was one of the women's leagues in America. Maybe that's what they do in the casual, isn't it? It was the fact that she was applying that connotation to this situation. It's a bit mad.
There's also slip of the tongues. Because someone played a clip of hers yesterday where she turned around and spoke about somebody getting 19 goals in 40 games. And she said, and as you can see, that's pretty much a goal a game. And everyone laughs at her. But I'm like, you knew what she meant, a goal every other game.
Yeah.
But it was a slip. I do get annoyed at people that focus on slips of the tongue like it's that goddamn important. Maybe it's being dyslexic. And sometimes I'd write things and people go, you spelled a word wrong. It's like, yeah, but you know what I meant, right? Yeah, then why? You're not my English teacher, so relax your brain a bit. But do you know what I think's happened? I think City have put the bid in, and their hope was very much, we put this bid in, we will turn Declan Rice's head, and then Arsenal will walk away because the player's going to want to join the treble winners. He's going to want to play for Pep. So I think they thought, we're not going to go 105, 110, 120. We don't have to. We're Man City. And that's the stance City take. But I think they've put their bid in. I think it's been rejected. They've had further talks, and the player's preference is still Arsenal. And maybe their head hasn't been turned. There might have been a slight glance, but that's it. He's back to focusing on who he wants to be with, and that's Arsenal. In my personal opinion, when teams pull away, it's because the player isn't going to join them over the other team. And maybe they also thought that Arsenal were not going to bid anymore. Maybe they thought you were going to behave like Wenger's Arsenal, where you just, well, we're not going to pay that much money. Remember, you were the team that should have got Luis Suarez, not Barcelona. If you'd have made a proper bid, you would have got him. That £1 thing was crazy. It just shows how much Arsenal have grown, in my opinion. Some super chats here. First one from my man, Sean Casey. He says, Arsenal can pay what they want for who they want. Truth is, they don't have the mentality or the manager mentality to win anything. They will not get top 4. You heard it here first. Is Sean saying you're not making top 4 here, Jess?
Okay. I mean, what, like, I feel like we should be in most people's top 4 predictions, you know, at least early predictions based on what happened last season and what's happening in the transfer window. Now, things can change, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. If they don't think we're going to make it, they don't. But saying that they don't have the mentality or the manager to win anything, and that's why we're not going to get top 4, like, fair enough. Feels like a reach, feels like a little bit of bitterness, but hey, the game's the game.
The game is the game. Thank you for the super chat, bro. I agree with KJ. Now this team has to deliver. The owners have done their part. Arteta and the team has to deliver a trophy. No more bottling. I think every gooner on planet Earth agrees with that. We are still gutting our midfield. Losing both Partey and Xhaka in one hit is going to hurt in the short term, even with Rice. Depends who else you bring in, though.
It depends. Like, I think people really are sitting there thinking that we're not going to replace, like, Kai Havertz is the replacement for Granit Xhaka, whether people like that or not. Like, he is. Like, there's enough out there. If you're reading the articles, you're reading the scouting reports, you're reading all the little blurbs, like, Kai Havertz is coming in to play 10/8 for Arsenal. Like, that's just what it is. And so, as bad as Kai Havertz has been, I don't think Xhaka's last season is any sort of indication that we can improve upon that. Xhaka is a good player, but that's about it. You know, I think at this point we're getting into the overrated thing with Granit Xhaka. Like, it's been time to move on from him. Then when it comes to, like, the rest of the midfielders, like, Arsenal are going to replace Thomas Partey if he leaves. So if he doesn't leave, it'll be Thomas Partey. If he does leave, it's going to be somebody new. Lavia, you know, he's young and kind of raw, so not really sure like how that works out, but I just have a feeling that Arsenal are cooking something in the background. I think Lavia is somebody that we've spoken to, but I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of days if Thomas Partey leaves, another player comes to the surface that's a little bit more experienced, and we go for that player. But Xhaka aside, like, replacing Thomas Partey if he leaves is the most important thing. You still have Jorginho there, but, like, the idea that gutting the midfield and replacing them, like, the only outcome is that we get worse, I think just stems from this, like, idea that Xhaka and Partey are, like, really, really good, and they're good, but there's definitely a ceiling. We could definitely get better than them, and I think Rice is a really good start in that.
I've said it all along, Rice was going to eventually bench Partey anyway, and I know that a lot of Arsenal fans are still stuck in the mindset of, I'm going to back my players over my club. You shouldn't. Rice is better. And I've said it before. Rice will be your captain in 3 years. As good as Odegaard is, Declan Rice is better. And I said it last night. You could have the best. You could have an amazing penalty taker. If you sign a better penalty taker, they end up swapping. Free kick takers, goalkeepers, left back, whatever position or role within a team you have. If somebody better comes in, they replace that person at a stage. Not day one, but it will happen. Rice is that good. Defo win more at City, but Dex trouble and strife said F off. I'm not living up north is what Cliff says here. Maybe. I don't even know if he's married. Chelsea doing mad business, raised 150+ million already. Mount would make it 200 million. We all said it was impossible. can now get anyone they for any price in July. Yeah, R2. Only people that have zero brain capacity or are heavily salty. And again, too much salt damages your brain anyway. So that's why they couldn't see it, my friend. And that's why banter's dying on football, because every day it's banter and it's boring. According to Team News and Ticks, there's something else to come apart from Havertz, Timber, and Lavia. Who knows if Arsenal bring in Chiesa or Savic?
He knew about Kai Havertz before it broke. He just didn't say anything. He already knew about it. So again, people that are thinking that Arsenal are just going to stop at the 3, no. Like,
Yeah.
Arsenal are not about to stop at the 3.
Yeah,
More
no.
players are coming in. So
Totally agree. Legend and Villain here says Casemiro 65 million, Rodri 60 million, Rice 100 million. Overrated English. First of all, why have you got to mention his nationality? We don't do that on the Terrace. You know, you wouldn't mention his nationality if he wasn't English. So please don't do it, my friend. I've got a lot of love and respect for you, but I love it. It's embarrassing. Van Dijk is a whole level of quality compared to Rice. Well, Van Dijk's a centre back, and centre backs historically have never been as expensive as midfielders. Equally, financial growth in the game over the last 6 to 7 years since Rice's transfer has grown significantly. What is that? Nearly 6 years. Six years is grown significantly. And again, if Casemiro was 24 and had 2 years left on his deal when Man United went to buy him, now, if you take 24-year-old Casemiro at Real Madrid with 2 years left on his contract, he would have been 120, 130, 140 million pounds. And Rodri was an unproven player when City bought him, and he's developed into brilliance. Again, if you bought Declan Rice 3 years ago, you wouldn't have paid 100 million pound for him either. So I understand where you're coming from. You should drop the English bit, first of all, because that's bigoted, and we don't do bigotry on the football terrace. But equally, you're comparing apples with oranges. You're not comparing a 24-year-old established Premier League proven captain who's just took his team to European glory when you look at Rodri and Casemiro and even Van Dijk. Van Dijk was fairly unproven at the highest level at the age he was, and he was a 75 million pound world record breaking fee for a centre back. Centre backs have never been as expensive as midfielders, and midfielders have never been as expensive as the strikers when you do look at pound for pound category, Villain, my friend. But
yeah, and everyone in the chat saying, "Oh, he said it because of English tax." He would have mentioned English tax. He said overrated English player, stating that because he's English, he's therefore not as good, so therefore he is not worth 100 million. If he wanted to talk about English tax, he would have said Rice is an overrated player, and because of English tax, the price is like that. So
yeah, listen,
let's
if
not
you
do
say
this.
English tax, I kind of get it, and English tax is a real thing, and that's part of it. Declan Rice is more commercially viable than both Casemiro and
Yeah.
Rodri in the UK. So you have to pay for that commerciality. You pay the player with his image rights, and you pay the club as part of the transfer fee. So just I've been talking about that for 7 straight years. The fact that people are still moaning about it actually grinds my gears. The more commercially viable a player, the more money they cost, irrespective of their ability. But let's drop the English overrated nonsense out, because we just don't need to talk. Okay, well, bro, then
Yeah,
say
Say that
yeah.
then. Say that then.
English
Why
tax.
you...
Yeah, for me, I'm going to call it out. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to call it out, because no one's nationality should be used as a reason for them being good, bad, or indifferent. Your nationality, your skin color, your race, your religion is irrelevant to how good or bad you are. English.
I don't I guess, like, I don't understand why people don't ever talk about, like, supply and demand. Like, for me, it's very simple. Like, people get very fixated on, like, what your true value is, but the value will skyrocket or plummet based on what the options are on the market. The fact that Bayern Munich and Man City and Arsenal, and to a certain extent, Man United as well, were all interested in this one player, I think shows you that there's just not that many players of his level out there. So the price just naturally goes up. The fact that people get really kind of like bogged down in how much the player costs, I don't know why we don't ever speak about like how they fit in, and things like that. They're more concerned about the fee. And I feel like if you're focused on the fee, it's because you can't really figure out a way to deny the quality and how they fit. You know, I just don't understand that. Like, it's
No,
simple supply and demand. There's only like a couple of DMs out there of that quality that you can get right now.
level, and money keeps going up, and again, in another 5 to 6 years, legendary Villain, in another 5 to 6 years, a player of Declan Rice's quality will be 130, 140 million if the money in football continues to rise. But as I said before, if we're going to criticize people, let's leave their nationality out of it on all fronts, please, people. Great content, guys. Watching all the way in Auckland, New Zealand. What do you think? Do you think Rice deal to Arsenal is bigger than the Enzo deal? I think it's bigger because Declan Rice is far more famous in England than Enzo Fernandez is. So it makes it a bigger deal. There's also a race in this with City. And again, a lot of people saying Rice is overrated. The greatest current manager in world football, maybe the greatest manager of all time in many people's eyes. I still think Fergie's better, by the way. Has just bid 90 million for him and desperately wanted him. Can he be that bad? Maybe. You sub Rice for Jorginho, Alexis, Fred, etc. The rest of the chat doesn't change one bit. Pep has always adjusted and succeeded. What's different now? I will say this about City not getting him. City will find somebody else and still be a brilliant team. So there's a little L for City that you've been beaten to a player you wanted by Arsenal. But I don't think City fans. That's why City fans being salty is weird to me, because you know you're going to be okay. Generally, people are only salty when you hit a nerve with them or they're upset. I don't get why our City fans would be overly upset, if that makes sense.
And it's just like we needed him more than you did, period. And we acted like it. You know, we were willing to go to a certain extent that you were not willing to go to. And we also made sure that we had the player. Like, I think that's the key in all of this, is that Arsenal knew that maybe financially they couldn't really compete with City if it went to blows. So they just made sure that they had the player. And that's the way that they could be relaxed, just in case City came in. But it just played out the way it should have. We needed him more than you did. You don't need him that much. It is what it is, you know, but this also hopefully brings us closer to Man City. And I think that's where the bitterness comes from, is because they know that this is a good signing for Arsenal.
Yeah. Listen, by the way, leave legendary Villain alone. I said my piece. He's responded and said he meant English tax. I trust him. He's a great guy. Leave him alone in the chat, please, people. That's not what we're about either on the terrace. So, you know, he said his piece. I respect what he said. Boom. We move on from there, because I trust this guy. He's a good guy at heart, no doubt about it. Sammy McBell update has come out. He says that Declan Rice is ready to ask West Ham to accept the bid. The England midfielder is closing in on the move to the Emirates. Confidence is very high. So the player is now saying, please, this has gone on long enough. You've got over 100 million. Let's move on. So that's very significant as well, that he said that. Yeah, we've all seen the breaking news. Fabrizio and Caicedo. Chelsea are going to start the bidding on that. Man like Witness Surfer sent that through to me. You actually make my life easier, Witness Surfer, by sending me all those transfer links through. It saves me scaling through. I don't have notifications on my phone, because otherwise my battery goes too quick. But yes, big news for Chelsea there. We'll cover that more on the Straight Facts later with Big Steve. Terry, Spurs will finish above Arsenal. Fair enough. No City fan is rattled, lads. Absolutely none. Well, I've seen movies.
They are.
I would say that again. You're exaggerating it. Say all of them are rattled is wrong. But say none is crazy. We have gone from only signing a keeper on a free in 2015 to now outbidding the treble winners. I can't wait for pre-season and to see how it all looks, is what Ibby says. Yeah, look, pre-season's be mad. By the way, there's been some breaking news since we've been live as well. Man United are closing in on their first official bid for Onana.
I think that's cap.
Look at how giddy he is. It's so funny.
I think that's cap. Personally, we ain't doing this until July, bro. That's what I'm saying.
So who put
July's
that out there?
the bids coming at the end of the week. Do you know what the end of the week is, Kate?
Yeah, mid-July, bro. Mid-July.
That's come from, I've just seen loads of aggregators put it out. I'll read it later.
Yeah, Italian sources, don't trust them, bro.
I hear you. You don't trust Fabrizio. Oh, you heard KJ said Fabrizio shit people. Did you just hear that? That's what I just said. Well, look, DiMarzio is someone I trust. He is going to be cooked for eternity now. Arsenal fans will never.
Did he say he will join, man?
No, he said growing in confidence.
Yeah, what's the cook him over?
Well, okay. One thing.
Sorry, Jess. People will cook him because you don't need facts to cook people. That's what I'm saying. Do you get what I mean? At the end of the day, like I got someone cook me today. Said, Terry, you said Newcastle were close to signing Maddison. I'm like, when I tweeted that, the report was City, Newcastle leading the race and the deal could be close. 3 days later, I said to him, but also 3 days later, I reported that Dean Jones says it's changed and Spurs have taken over in the race. Why would you ignore that update? But because that don't suit the narrative. Remember, a lot of people sit online. Remember, the NVC, all they have is online banter, bruv. That's all their man have got. Go on, Jay. You were gonna say something. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. The only thing I just want to say is like, honestly, some Arsenal fans, like, they really, really went in on like Edu and Arteta strangely because, you know, they were hearing stuff from different sources. And I get that it's hard to kind of look and see what's going on, but like, it was very obvious from the beginning that this was a very public negotiation that was being heavily like leaked and stuff from the West Ham side. And so sometimes I just feel like, you know, wait and see. I said that early on. 2 days into the window, Arsenal fans were screaming and yelling. 2 days into the window, screaming and yelling, why isn't it done? Edu out, Arteta out, whole club out, all that kind of stuff. And I think there's some apologies that may need to go around because like that looks so silly. We're not even in July yet, and we potentially have 3 signings done. And people were crying with one day into the window. Actually, as soon as the final ended for the Europa Conference League, they were like, "Where's the bid? Relax, like, just relax. It's coming. You know, it's fine."
Well, I think, again, Lee Gunner's going to have a lot, absolute lot of stuff in his face. He literally had a TikTok the other day that was literally, because we haven't got Rice yet, it was sack Arteta and Edu now. And there's another one which I'm actually gonna download and play for everybody, where he says that Rice will go to City. And this is the thing that I've got a lot of time for Lee. We do shows together, but there was far too much negativity. And I know he doesn't trust any of the media, but the problem is people like Lee, they trust the media when it's a negative story about their club, but say the media lies when it's a positive one. The same as Man United. A rival fan said to me the other day, "Why would you report on Man United looking at Rice? They can't afford him." I said, the media have said it, not me. Yeah, but why would you believe the media, Terry? I said, but you do, because you've just said we have no money, which is what the media said. People pick and choose what they want to believe. Winter Surface here. What are you saying, bro?
Good signing, Rice. Well, you know, I always thought that people don't care about prices if someone does well. That's what I mean. They only bring up when they don't do well. And plus, there's different parameters set for Rice. You're not expecting him to be a top goal scorer, top assister. If he just breaks up challenges and does a pass here and there, then he'll be a good player. I'm fascinated who he partners in the middle of the midfield, whether it's Partey or Xhaka or Kai Havertz. That would be something to watch. But it's a good deal. I don't this whole English thing overpriced. I think Jess said it. There are certain positions in this transfer window. There's a limited number of players on. That's defensive midfielders, goalkeepers, and strikers. They have a limited amount of people know about name-wise that nearly every club is looking at or going for. Same with Caicedo, same with Rice. And look at the goalkeeper situation: Onana, Diogo Costa, something like that. And the strikers are there's even less. It's Osimhen and Kane. That's it, really, when you think about it.
And scarcity grows
so
value.
the prices are going to go up. So when you have less of something, and we know this from the past, since 2017, the transfer market is a seller's market. It's not a buyer's market. It's always a seller's market. So that's why you're seeing these big transfers for players that you don't think that some people don't think are worth it. But I think Rice he's 24. And I think he's going to be, he already is, but he's already an exceptional player to begin with. Yeah. He can develop more with better players. Players develop better with better players around them as well, not just better coaches. They just do. They want to be the best. They don't want to. He's not going to go there and go, "Oh man, I'm going to rest my laws £100 million." He's going to want to prove he's worth £100 million.
And he's going into a team that's in a good space, in a good moment, where the football's good. He's going to do well. I am going to play that Lee Gunner clip now, though. People, take a little listen. Take a little listen.
Man City, Man United, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, or any other football club on the planet will pay what they want. And they've got us by the cojones right now because we've gone in there with a stupidly low bid, which is nowhere near the valuation of the player. And now Man City is sitting there going, well, keep us informed then. And keep us informed then. Chelsea, keep us informed then. And let's be real. Chelsea are going to get rid of Mason Mount. They're going to get rid of Kai Havertz. They're going to get rid of Pulisic. They're going to get rid of Ziyech. Kante's going. They're getting rid of loads and loads of other players. Koulibaly could be going. They're going to get rid of about 10, 12 players. They're going to get a lot of money in this summer. So don't rule out Declan Rice actually going to Chelsea because that could still be a thing, you know. Yeah, apparently he only wants London. We keep hearing he only wants London. He only wants London. I'm telling you right now, if Man City bid for him, it's finished. It's done. He's going Man City. I said this weeks and weeks ago before the Champions League final. I said this. In fact, I said this months ago.
I love it. I'm being a little bit salty with it, but Lee, I told him you've gone too far. You didn't read the story.
You know the Chelsea. You know what you said about the Chelsea thing. We've been linked with him for the past 3 years. We have never put a bid in for him. We acquired, I think, once, and when during Lampard's first bit, like I think in January or something. But he's only linked to us because of 2 reasons. He was in our academy and left at 14, and Mason Mount's his best friend. That's the only reason he's ever linked to Chelsea. We would if we were going to put, why would we concentrate all on Caicedo if we were going to go in for Rice? Rice has been there to bid for. Why we were never going to go in for Rice whatsoever. Never.
And again, listen, it's not 100% over the line yet. But unless Man United come in with some crazy offer and manage to change his mind, and I'm only saying that because we've been linked. Arsenal, the only team left in the race, they were right to low ball, because if they'd have come straight in with 105 plus, there's the possibility it would have been pushed to 110, 115, 120. And Arsenal fans are all saying, but we want enough budget left to go and buy the other people. Arsenal did exactly the right thing. They got their due diligence right. They knew the player wanted to join them, and they've got it done. They have this, and this is where Arsenal fans, even if you're not someone who's an Edu fan or an Arteta fan per se, you look at this scenario and go, we've learned from our mistakes. We've got better advice, better due diligence, and we've gone and got the job done. This now should mean there's more credit in the bank when moving forward, thus less moaning about these situations. You know, I mean, it's like I saw last Thursday. I was out last Thursday. And somebody whinging and moaning that City were coming in. It's over. I'm not going to follow the transfer market anymore. I'm not going to bother even following Arsenal until the season kicks off. I don't like football. I hate football. That's all I heard last Thursday and Friday. I couldn't believe it. That the world was coming. I don't know who did that. I'm not too sure who it was who did that. But the whinging has got to stop. It has got to stop from these gooners.
Yo,
go on, bro.
Just quick question. Who's Connor Moore, by the way?
Absolutely nobody.
Okay, because apparently he's come out and said that you're keeping Partey and therefore you're not going to go for Caicedo. I don't know who this guy is. He's some Arsenal accounts. I don't know.
Okay, so what happened was Fabrizio Romano came out with something this morning saying that there was a U-turn on one of the midfielders that were supposedly going to leave this window. And so a bunch of the in the know accounts decided to say it was Partey. It's Jorginho.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like Connor Moore knows nothing. But the funny thing is people that were saying like, yeah, like we're going to get Rice. Obviously they get to say like, I told you guys, it's always happening. We have so many in the knows that know nothing, but we do have like maybe 2 that really know what they're talking about, but the rest, they know nothing.
And you got to pay homage to FC Bell as well. Oh, may he rest in peace.
The Bell was my favorite saga of all time.
Yeah, do you know who needs a lot of credit though through this process? I think he's been so spot on. Has been the ex-West Ham employee.
Yeah,
he's been without going into specifics. And you've got to remember, I will say this again to listeners: no journalist or in the know, a real one, is ever going to tell you when you go, "Who's your source?" They tell you their source, they lose their source. They will never ever reveal the source. So it's the dumbest question you could ever. It's like watching a magician do a magic trick and going, "Show me how you do it." They're never going to do that because it ruins the illusion. If they tell you their sources, they won't get the information anymore. He has been so spot on throughout this process. We've got some more super chats here. Overplayed massively for Rice, in my opinion. 70 mil max is what Tad says. I understand. Look, I look at it this way. The Sierra delivers. If the man delivers the same for Arsenal as he's done for West Ham, then it won't be overpaid over the years. And again, you won't judge it all based on what he wins year 1 either. Maddison is better than Rice. Stats in 2003, 10 goals versus 9 assists. Are we doing goal stats on Maddison?
Hey, Harry Kane's better than Onana as well. Harry Kane.
He's
got more.
Yeah, I've noticed that. It's true. Yeah. And also, I don't even want to sign Declan Rice because he doesn't save as many shots as David De Gea. So what's the point?
That's right.
You know what I mean?
What's his expected XG? That's what I was.
Oh, Winter Surfer sent me a tweet. What's he sent me?
It's just a further Fabrizio thing about Caicedo. That's all.
Okay, decided to submit an official proposal. Okay, right, there we go. Cool.
I love these terminologies: preparing to make a bid sometime next week.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. My favorite one all year are these international journalists that are suddenly using the word concrete interest. Like, when you say something concrete, it's two like really real deep Cockney expressions that I grew up. My dad used to say it a lot. Listen, mate, I'm concrete about it. I'm serious about it. He'd say. Or the other one was like, how can I make this more crystal for you? Like crystal clear, easy to understand. That's going to be the best one when someone like Fabrizio says, I want to make this perfectly crystal. If he says that, I'll die of laughter. It'd be amazing.
I like the monitoring one. I like the monitoring one. It's like you're in a meeting, but there's like little clubs behind. Just like
my favorite one is match point, bro. Match point. It's just tennis. It's just tennis, bro. Match point.
Match point was a bad one. Arsenal have match point.
I feel like all them words. I feel like all them words are used for Liverpool, man. It's just
we're in the final stage.
Final stages.
I'm not gonna lie, I love it. Ram,
we're interested, all that kind of stuff.
What do you make of this deal, Ram? What do you make of it, bro?
First of all, Arsenal got themselves an incredible player. I am a big fan of Declan Rice. Like you said, no one should be concerned about the price until he steps onto the pitch. The same we saw with Van Dijk. We overpaid at the time for him, and then everyone keeps on forgetting about the price tag because of what he's done. And I expect the same thing for Declan Rice. And people saying, English tax this, English tax that. Well, the way I see it, if you're a very, very good player and you're homegrown, you're going to be expensive in the Premier League. Like that's how it works. Is nothing new. It's been around for such a long time. We're seeing it right now with Mason Mount. People say that he's worth around about £35 million. But because he's English and he's homegrown, and that's such a massive factor given the new rules given by the FA, it's going to be overpriced. So I don't understand why people are so upset about it and giving this all English tax, homegrown tax. It's been around for such a while. Like, get over it. It is what it is. That's how the Premier League's designed. That's how the FA designed the Premier League to be. And this is why you're going to see all these English players go for higher fees than foreign players, because it's the Premier League and it's the rules. So people just need to calm down about all that stuff. It's the rules, and that's how it's going to be. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, 100% hear you on that, bro. Definitely do. This here says losing Xhaka and Partey is bad, not because we can't replace them, but because you will still have Lokonga and Elneny on the bench. Havertz at CM is bad, in my opinion, is what El says.
Hey, listen, Lokonga coming good, baby. Don't worry about that.
Lokonga and Elneny aren't even going to be here. Like, I think people purposely don't like read reports, or like they ignore the ones that make their points not as valid. Like, Elneny's not going to be here, and neither is Lokonga. Like, there's enough out there that says that they're not going to be, not because Lokonga's not a good player, KJ. He just probably needs a new
no,
scenery.
don't
you know?
worry about that. I know about Lokonga.
Yeah, but Jorginho is there, and I know people, like, I wasn't sold on him when we first got him, but I thought he made a good account of himself. Like, so we just have to wait and see. But the idea that Lokonga and Elneny are going to be like our only options off the bench is a little bit like, let's be like, for real. Like, that's not it. It's not it. Like, it's not it.
This year says, do we have enough to go back for Caicedo? Do you think Arsenal will go for Caicedo as well?
No, that's what the fact that the Caicedo news came out like literally right after the Declan Rice thing, that was the domino. Like, it just was. Maybe Brighton were waiting to see if Arsenal would miss out on Declan Rice and then we'd come in. But now Chelsea are like, and I think Alex Goldberg said that as well last night when we put our bid in, that like Declan Rice would go to Arsenal, and now Chelsea have like a free hit at Caicedo. So no, we won't go back for him. It'll either be Lavia or somebody else if Partey leaves. Like, yeah. So have fun. Caicedo is an amazing player. I am a little bit devastated that we're not going to get him.
Is Partey definitively leaving?
No, we don't know for sure.
I just want, like I said previously, I just want Chelsea fans to remember what we're doing with Mount and saying we should get most of Mount when we get the first two bids rejected for Caicedo. That's what I just want. Then they should accept what we're giving them. You know what I mean? Like that. I want everyone to remember that as well. And also, any Chelsea fans that say Rice is overrated, but we pay something like 85 million plus add-ons for Caicedo, and they say it's a good deal. Just remember that. Brighton have played this brilliantly in terms of, you know, they're going to look at this and they're going to demand whatever the thing is, whether it's a set price plus add-ons to get possibly to 100 million. I think that's what I think it's going to be, like base 80, 85 plus like 15 to 20 million add-ons, something like that. That's what I think it's going to be.
All you guys are annoying me, bruv. Seeing Chelsea making moves, seeing Arsenal making moves. Heck, at least Liverpool signed the man. We're out here doing niche. I feel like Michael Moon's just shouting in my face, bro. That's what I feel like, fam. You know what I'm saying, man? Like, well, who am I? Who, that brother, that Asian brother, that's me right now, fam. Just
I love the press.
there.
I love the press, KJ. I love it when KJ gets pressed. It's so funny. It's so funny. He was like this when we were on our way home from Doha because he bought this beautiful red velvet cake and he didn't want to eat it, but we couldn't go for security with it. So the man had to eat it. He was so pissed off he had to eat his cake early. He's just like that. I love it. I love it. I love it. We still need a 20-goal a season striker, is what Ruder Boy says. I hear you. I do think though, either that or you need the Martinellis and the Sakas to all start, and Jesus as well to all score more goals next year. Possibly that City would look at Caicedo. They could, of course they could. Nothing's, and then what you'll find as the players that are midfielders that are available start to become less and less, you'll get other clubs that will jump in that you maybe don't even expect because suddenly, we better move now. And some teams will move in silence and won't even get involved in these transfer negotiations early.
I would look at. I wouldn't be surprised if they looked at, like you guys said, Kimmich or De Jong. Those are the next two.
Oh, please, Jess.
Big ones
No, we can't have
down the
that.
pipeline.
Those two, I'm telling you now, those two ain't going nowhere. Like, especially De Jong. Everyone says, "Oh, but De Jong's up." De Jong will chain himself to the Camp Nou himself. He ain't going nowhere, man. He'll go.
That's copium. Again, he may not, but if it's true they want to sell him, I don't know. 2 years running, they might guarantee more of his. He's had half of his 70 million now. Maybe it's easier. Like, and again, it's different from Man United coming for you. It is City. Like the De Jong one's
can't happen though.
Well, I know why.
It can't happen.
Yeah,
it can't happen. The quality, a player of those qualities under Pep Guardiola, no way, no way.
Don't think they won't look. Don't think they won't look like.
Or maybe
but just it can't happen.
Maybe look to the future Rams and think that Kefren Turam has got something for the future. Do you know what I mean? Because you guys are like slower than you guys are. You guys are so slow.
But yeah, I know my club is stupid. They like to do things stupidly, but even then, Kimmich's my guy. Kimmich is my guy. I love Joshua Kimmich. He's an incredible footballer. Him under Pep Guardiola, the region of Philip Lahm under Pep Guardiola, no way.
It's crazy. Jollof rice is better than rice, cheaper and better. Who's jollof rice?
No, that's not
jollof rice in general. Like this.
I know what jollof rice is. I thought he was calling. You know, people say like they called Aubameyang the Gabonese Vardy. I thought that was like a play on words.
No. He's jollof rice is actually cheaper than Declan rice. That is true.
That is true. Yeah.
Nice rice though. Not being fair. I'm not going to say whether I prefer Ghanaian or Nigerian though, because I don't want to offend.
That's fucking war in the comments.
But they're both very nice, but I do prefer one to the other. Maybe it was the cook. I don't know. What a difference from where we were 10 years ago. Yeah, Arsenal are moving at the minute. We overpaid for Rice, but it is what it is. Sad. I wouldn't be sad. Do you know what? I would love right now.
So happy. It's like,
you know what? I would love right now, legitimately, to be a fly on the wall in Lee Gunner's apartment in Spain. I want to see. Is he happy? Is he
punching air right now? Seriously.
I've just tweeted that video of him as well, saying just Lee Gunner mudded over Declan Rice. I thought I'd wind him up a bit. Man U slowly turning into Ajax from 3 years ago. Mate, that team was brilliant in the Champions League, so give me that. Man United forget how to buy players, crap board. Yep, that's why we're looking for new owners. 105 million to bottle it again. Ha, 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 is what Moondog says. We'll see. The new journo phrase is one step away. I like that. I like that. I can't wait to sit back and see Arsenal derail, is what's been said here.
I hope so, brother. I hope that comes.
I don't. Makes living very hard.
Blink twice, Terry. Blink twice.
Yeah.
Expressions come save me. City fans can't handle the fact that they are not so good.
That they're so good.
They're so good in a crappier city than London. Spoilt brats, lol. And I'm Glaswegian. I know crap cities. Manny's good, you know. I love Manchester. I lived there. It was great. I don't think Rice is overvalued. When it comes to price and value, the market decides. My girl used to think she was a 10 until she ended up with me. I like it. I like it. I like it. But again, remember, just because you change as you get older doesn't mean you should leave. Remember that video. You'll see that video that's trending.
No, honestly, Terry, I'm sitting there as a man about to be married. I'm just like,
yeah, like you gotta remember that was somebody that wanted higher value and decided I wanted to move on. That's all it came down to. So, but listen, each to their own. She's free to do what she wants. It's a free world.
Free to be alone,
bun jollof rice and peas all the way. Rice and peas is good as well. But the best rice is English rice. You know English rice, like Uncle Ben's in the microwave, 2 minutes.
That ain't English rice, bro. That's American rice.
I don't know who invented it, but honestly, don't do boil in the bag. Don't do boil in the bag. But there we go. Oh, what's this? Oh no, I just got a notification. But what's this? It's my that podcast has just gone out on Spotify. That's what it was. I thought, something's broke. That's one of the only things I have. I have Spotify on notifications. It lets me know when we put something out live. Who else is one? I have Ben Foster's, Joe Rogan, and that's it. They're literally the 3 podcasts I listen to now. None others. I ain't got no time. Terry, Spurs will finish above Arsenal. You said that. Oh, you already said that. Fair enough. If you believe
Who
it.
are you trying to convince?
Himself.
Who are you trying to convince?
He's trying to convince himself. That ain't happening.
He's trying to manifest it. That's all.
He is trying to manifest it. Listen, I want to say a big thank you to everybody that has tuned into the show again. Oh, I was waiting for him to arrive. He's here now. Oh, look at these glasses. He looks cool. Brandon's here. What are you saying?
Thanks, Rice.
I've got to mute you. You'll give me a copyright.
Copyright.
Copyright strike.
Just sing
Turn
the
the
music
music
track.
Turn the music
Oh
off.
my god!
The track.
Come on, Jess, baby. We're in it.
I love it. I love it.
Don't worry, Tara. It's not the actual song. It's just the backing track. So
Yeah, but you'll be surprised on YouTube now. They still attribute them to the bloody original artist. They're mad.
Okay, let's try this again. And a 1, 2, 3. Go, Brandon.
Do you know the words?
He's muted himself. Go on.
oh dear. Yeah. So I'm quite pleased because I wasn't expecting Manchester City to pull out. I thought they'd at least go in and match our bid with a better structure. But I think what people are saying about the whole Manchester City didn't really want the player, I think that's lies, to be honest. I do think they wanted Declan Rice. I just don't think they value him as highly as what we do. And let's be honest, Manchester City are not as desperate to get Declan Rice as what we are. So yeah, I'm happy to see that Arsenal look like they're finally going to get a big deal over the line under the director of Edu. You know, he can finally squash that and say that he can get the big deals over the line, because that has been a massive question mark over his head. And yeah, but the transfer window is not done yet for Arsenal. You know, I don't want to see Arsenal do the typical thing and go, oh, we just spent £105 million on Declan Rice and, you know, Kai Havertz coming in and Timber. We still need, in my eyes, a striker. We still need possibly another defender and even, you know, another midfielder. I don't think just Declan Rice coming into the midfield, especially when we're looking to move on Partey and Xhaka, is enough to transform our midfield. So, yeah, it's good. It's a good start though. And also West Ham, yeah, you know, take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. That's what you got to do now. It doesn't matter about your structure anymore and all this, that, and the other. Unless another club comes in and offers you a better structure, you've got to take the deal or leave it and risk Declan Rice leaving on a free next season. So there we go.
No, I hear you, mate. Listen, we've got a super chat here. Actually, we've got a few more that came in. First one says, not sure why you suggest not to mention nationality. It gets mentioned over and over. Read my paper today. I guarantee it says the Frenchman. Again, that's fine. Stating someone's nationality isn't a problem. Stating what somebody's skin color is or their ethnicity is or their religion is not a problem. But when you use it in a sentence to say, oh, if I said overrated French so-and-so player, or overrated this based on their religion, or overrated this. There's no reason to mention it. Just mention the player. You don't need to. That's when you don't need to mention their nationality. So again, I'm not saying you can't mention nationality, but it's the context of which you use it, which I think is important personally. So yeah, saying he's a brilliant player, the Englishman's a brilliant player, or the Frenchman's a brilliant player is great. But saying the overrated Frenchman, implying that French players get overrated, I think is wrong, because you're generalizing based on an immutable factor of a person, my friend. That's what I meant by it. But thank you for the super chat. Now we get the rice. We want the curry. It's what's been said there. Favorite curry, guys? What's your favorite curry?
I'm typically English, so it's korma.
Oh,
Steph.
no.
Korma, mate. Madras.
I don't
I'm
want
going
to.
Vindaloo sometimes.
I like me some Steph. I like me some Steph.
Yeah, that's a bit of Steph. It depends on what food I'm eating, because you can get curries at the Chinese, the Indian restaurant. Obviously, there's curry
true.
goat, you're eating Caribbean food. But yeah,
Amen.
curry goat's good. But yeah, I don't mind a little bit of Madras. Vindaloo's pretty good as well. But there we go. Jalfrezi. Jalfrezi's not bad food. He's been complaining. Why is he here? Talk about you, Brandon. Little Lee Gunner over there.
Yeah, but just to Brandon, even though he's harsh on the club sometimes, I don't think there's ever but I want to be right thing. I think in the end, if we get who we're supposed to get, he's more than happy to come on and be excited with the rest of us. Whereas with Lee Gunner, I think he's punching in the air right now, straight up, no offense to him, but yeah. So just to back Brandon a little bit, I know he means well, 100%. Even if sometimes he can be a little much. What did you call Tomiyasu? I swear we fought for a long time.
Hey, there's still reservations about Tomiyasu,
Yeah.
The Japanese. Well, the thing is, if you guys sign, I'm not saying he's right, but you said he was a Japanese Bellerin. If you guys sign Timber and Tomiyasu was to leave, because you never know, then maybe Brandon was right. But there we go. A few people saying here, Terry, he never said that. Listen, we know what Legendary Villain said. He's explained himself, and it made sense. I'm just stating generally, not any individual. Criticizing somebody based on their nationality is wrong. And you all know what you're implying. Certain people are implying when they do it, and I just won't tolerate it towards anybody. Just bantering, but Jess, you've been cool.
Cool.
About Brandon, I think, yeah, you've been cool about the Declan Rice scenario. Brandon hasn't.
Yeah. I only I had a moment, I'm not going to lie. I did have a moment and I had to reel myself back in, and Terry was there.
A moment.
I think you're lying to yourself as an Arsenal fan if you didn't say that you weren't if you sat there and said that you weren't worried about Manchester City coming in. I think you're lying to yourself also if you genuinely thought that there was 100% possibility that we would get this deal over the line based off of, our previous dealings before. So, you've got to have reservations. So
the only thing that I refrained from doing was saying Edu out, Arteta out, F the board, all that kind of stuff, because all I really said was, if and when we lose out on Rice, that would put a huge damper on the transfer window.
What's
it'd be very difficult to be
what's happened, KJ? What's the matter?
West Ham could move away from Harry Maguire pursuit due to wage demands.
we knew that. We knew it.
They're about to get £100 million, bro.
That's an old rehash story from last week. I saw that last week. That's an old story from last week.
Listen, everyone who's tuned in, I want to say a big thank you to all of you. Make sure you hit the like button before you leave. Make sure you subscribe and turn on the bell notification button so you don't miss any more live streams. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very